Welcome to the channel. My name is Cole AK. All the way back in high school around 2 years ago, I made a fantasy book for my senior project with some friends. It's what you would expect for a first book and a first draft. Incoherent themes, ideas thrown at the reader, and just an overall messy story. And because of that, I've always wanted to rewrite the book and actually make it presentable and tell the story to people. So after I graduated, I slowly redesigned the characters, rethought out the story, removed and added some stuff. Now I feel like I can actually share my stories online and show off my characters. Ladies and gentlemen, and those in between, I welcome you to Sparks. Sparks is set in a far-off planet called Ethereal. On this planet, there are usual fantasy creatures and races, but they're more or less changed in my setting to be more unique and generally more alien-like. Generally, Sparks is more sci-fi based than fantasy based, which is something to always keep in mind about Ethereal. And because of this, magic doesn't usually come from like gods in D&D. Instead, it comes from something called the Spark. Sparks are one of many fragments that came from the universe's first star when it went supernova long before first life even arose on Ethereal. Life actually started when the spark crash landed into the planet's north pole, and because of that, the magic energy caused life to spawn in the world, and plant life, general fauna, sentient life, all that. Long ago, Ethereal had a grand empire ruled by mages, being capable of using the spark's energy to use spells and create vast, powerful machines that could conquer worlds if they were able to go into the stars. But 1500 years ago, the empire fell in a devastating war. A war so destructive that its own records were basically wiped off the map, and very quickly people forgot what even caused what they were fighting for. In turn, the empire that once existed became nothing but legend only remembered through oral tradition. In the ruins of this grand empire, the elves came together and created the kingdom of Elrond, a country on the continent closest to the North Pole and where the spark lies. So the elves became guardians, and the Elrond army exists almost entirely to protect the spark. And so because of that, it's one of the most powerful countries militarily. It's also important to note, in my setting, the magic can mutate people, but not like turn them into giant horrific mutant monsters, but instead giving them super abilities and no cap to how many spells they can cast, which is unlike other mages that have a certain amount of energy they have stored up in their body. These types of mages are called enchanted and are basically magic superheroes, but there has been one in over 20 years. However, in the story, there is a brand new enchanted that has popped up. As you can guess, is the main character of Sparks. Lucas is your general shonen protagonist. He's ambitious and wants to become a hero, save lives, and to see the world. Although what's holding him back is that he has a lot of baggage. His parents are gone, one walked off on him to go get milk basically, and the other died of a disease. Coupled with him living in a very isolated community, a forest and village called Oldwood, Lucas has grown to feel extremely lonely and is pretty depressed and has a lot of anger issues, yelling and starting fights with people over the simplest things. Everything changed when a hero literally crashed down from the sky, protecting an artifact that, if the wrong hands were to get it, would literally cause the world as they knew it to completely change. And when he was attacked, his powers activated, and he realized, and everyone else found out, that he was in fact an enchanted. On the one hand, he's really happy about this because now he can finally go off and see the world, but now he's also a part of a big war that if things go wrong, bad things are going to happen. That's all I'm going to say, because spoilers, of course. When making Lucas as a character, I was mostly inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog and Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. I was inspired by Sonic's super forms for Lucas's abilities. I also imagine Lucas is kind of one of the more faster elves and mages in the world. Not the fastest, and I don't think he could go like Mach 10 like Sonic does, break the sound barrier. Nothing like that. I also generally like cocky characters. Sonic's very cocky. Edward's also very cocky as well. So I kind of added that to his character. Of course, we also have the dead mom thing. Dead mom from a disease. Very much like Edward Elric. One thing too is that elves in my setting can be like as short as 4 feet and as tall as like 15, 17 feet tall. And I imagine Lucas is like 4'5". Well, not imagine, he is, because he's my character. No, he's 4'5". Kind of like, also like Edward Elric. He's not, I don't think he's 4'5". I can't remember what his height is in the anime and manga, but a lot of short jokes, 100%, and I think the same is going to be for like Lucas, just like how Edward's always made fun of his height and was a common joke in the series. Not only does it make for some comedic relief in certain scenes, but it also can be, I don't know, I really like small characters fighting against much more taller, bigger characters like David Goliath. More like, like Mario, Bowser, Sonic, Eggman, stuff like that. For the outfit, I originally wanted to go with like this red jacket with like white stripes, maybe a white collar in some versions, but it just wasn't working. And when other people would like try and draw him, it was always like a difficult thing to do. So I eventually decided to give him a shirt. It's red and white like the jacket I originally wanted to have him go with, but instead it has a like white around, I guess, what do you call it? Like cuffs of the sleeves around like the neck. Then there's a white star shape in the middle of it. This shirt is also meant to be like the Elrond flag of war. Elrond has like 2 flags, one for peace, one when it's at war. And Lucas has a shirt of the flag being at war. It also kind of works for me because I imagine Lucas kind of being where he is. He's kind of considered a hick, and kind of like how it is in like in the US, hicks have the stereotype of like wearing like an American shirt. I know that because I wear an American shirt and I live in the countryside, so I could also be considered a hick. His enchanted form, like I said earlier, is based off Sonic's super forms, specifically his hyper form with like the flashing colors. I really like how that looks. And also the hairstyle of that like invisible girl character from My Hero Academia. I have not watched the anime and read much of the manga. I think I've like read like a little bit of the first volume because I have it. I also have the second one for some reason. I don't know. But I saw the like her online. I'm like, you know what? I really like it. So I kind of based his enchanted form hairstyle or more hair color off of that. However, Lucas isn't entirely alone. He does have someone he's very close with, a character called Kira. And man, Kira's such a weird character when it comes to her development. Originally, I wanted her to be like an angry fire mage type who had a bunch of anger issues and had a lot of characteristics that Lucas was going, like, eventually had. But when I like rethinking some of the characters, originally she was also going to be a love interest for the main character. Kira is also his girlfriend, by the way. But when I was like rethinking about her, I was like, you know what? Well, we need a smart mechanic artificer character. And so I did that. I gave some of the more anger, a little bit more of the fire themes to Lucas. But I also, at the time, I wanted Ethereal to be like a setting for my D&D campaigns. Like I still kind of want it, but it was like more based around it, and I wanted to have the people have like at least a decent amount of freedom. So I even at the time, and technically still do, I had like beast races you could play as, and so to represent them, I made Kira basically a wolf. So I'm just kind of stuck with this furry OC because I like thought about changing her, but like I literally can't imagine her any other way, and none of my friends can either. Kira is what you would call a wolver, which is a wolf humanoid hybrid from I think I'm pronouncing this right, Shelton folklore. They're generally nice creatures, even giving gifts to poor families when they're struggling, stuff like that. For me, they're generally a lot more tribal in my setting. No one's really sure where they came from. There's no evolutionary link. Most people think that this came from portals, and most believe that, so no one knows. However, where Kira came from is a bit of a mystery, even for herself. Years ago, when she was 5 or 6 or so, she just kind of found herself in Oldwood, and no memory how she got there. Not much of anything about her past except for her name. It was a dark or stormy night, and she was terrified, crying, all that. However, Lucas, also being around the same age, heard her crying and jumped out his bedroom window and went to go save her. Kira's mother took her in, and Lucas and Kira were raised together. Now, this isn't like a weird sister-brother thing. No, they do not see each other's as siblings. Not at all. They just lived in the same house. That's it. They did grow very close, though. And especially when Lucas's mother unfortunately passed. The two would eventually get together and become a couple and live together. Well, they already were, but you know what I mean. Kira's the only one who could calm Lucas down whenever he's angry, stressed, or anything. She's the only one who can calm him down, and generally, he's like never angry towards her. Basically, he's just always comfortable around her, and so basically, it's a good idea not to separate him from her, or honestly, vice versa. These two are ridiculously attached. Kira's inspirations are also from Sonic and Full Metal Alchemist, mostly from Winry, also Edward Elric's love interest, and very much the mechanic, building his mechanical arms in the anime and manga, and also kind of similar to Sally Acorn, has a bit more sassy. He's the only one who could honestly probably control Sonic. And like both of them, they're one of the more weaker characters of the cast. Kira still has her sharp claws and a strong bite, but she isn't much of a fighter. She never really has had a need to fight, so she mostly relies on the stuff she makes as an artificer. She also generally fights with a more defensive fighting style, which is kind of a mirror to how Lucas fights in my mind, with a more offensive fighting style. When designing her, I wanted to give her a country girl outfit, not like a cowgirl with a boots and a cowboy hat thing, but more like a farmer working on a tractor. So I gave her some blue overalls and a white shirt. I didn't put it in the art, but I imagine often she's covered in grease and oil. I gave her cooler colors, blues and grays, with some more brighter yellows represent the gold of the buttons or whatever those are called. I wanted to do that because, kind of showing an opposite between Lucas and Kira. Lucas has a lot more brighter, reds and blues. Kira, again, has the more cold, cooler colors. While I generally am going to be telling these stories through prose and stuff like that, I still want to at least have some stuff physical, art design, character design, stuff like that, because I still want to do art of them, especially for thumbnails, stuff like that. Now that I have designs for these two, I have to say I'm really happy, especially considering the fact the way they first looked was rough. What can I say? I was generally kind of newer to art. But hey, 2 years of constantly drawing very much makes for improvements. And now I think I'm finally satisfied with their designs. I'll be posting more videos of my OC and general creative stuff in the future. I might even eventually start posting Sparks and the story if my stuff gets enough attention. We shall see. And if you do want to see more, I'd recommend liking and subscribing, pressing that bell, all that YouTube crap. See ya. Have a wonderful day.